Doctor Who Season 1 begins this weekend with a double bill comprising Space Babies and The Devil's Cord. I'll be previewing The Devil's Cord later in the week, but for now let's turn our attention to Episode 1. The synopsis tells us that Ruby learns the Doctor's amazing secrets when he takes her to the far future. There they find a baby farm run by babies, but can they be saved from the terrifying bogeyman? With that in mind, here are 10 things to look forward to in this series opener. At number 1, we do of course have Ncuti Gatwa, our new Doctor, the 15th Doctor. This will actually be his third appearance in the show, his third story in a manner of speaking. But it will nevertheless mark a number of firsts for him and for his Doctor as he gets his first companion and introduces her to the wonders of the universe, going through all that stuff, like introducing Ruby to the TARDIS and to space and to time travel, all that kind of stuff. We've already seen one of the preview clips released for this episode, a fantastic little speech from Ncuti about how the Doctor never stands still, they're always moving forwards to see the next thing and the next, and they have no job, no commitments, but they do have freedom. And already from that and from all the other stuff we've seen in trailers, etc., I just know this is going to be a fantastic performance from Ncuti, a really great start for his Doctor. He'll also be sporting a slightly different outfit, with a leather coat from Christmas, but with that kind of blue striped zipped top underneath. The first of many costume variants for the Doctor in this season. As mentioned, joining the Doctor in this story for her first trip or trips in the TARDIS will be Ruby Sunday, played by Millie Gibson. Now, of course, we have already seen her in action at Christmas, but again, the story will mark many firsts for her character, and we'll hopefully see her get a bit more involved in stuff, because she wasn't really involved in the kind of plot resolution to the Church on Ruby Road, and indeed she was absent for the final act of the story. So hopefully Space Babies will give her lots of moments to shine and just kind of develop her relationship with the Doctor as well. I can't wait to see the two of them in action and see how they respond to these different scenarios they end up in, and in particular Ruby's reaction to being in space for the first time or being in the past for the first time. All that kind of stuff that we always get with a new companion. That's going to be really nice to see. Moving on to new stuff now, we'll have a new antagonist, or at least a new creature in this story, the bogeyman, who has been talked about for many months. I believe this creature is played by one of the actors who played one of the Wrath Warriors in the Star Beast, so a very big, tall, imposing creature. We've glimpsed it in trailers and stuff, and the odd image here and there, but we haven't quite seen it, in full yet, in full view. It's always been there in the shadows. But from what we have seen, it looks very creepy and scary and kind of disgusting, with that strange mouth or whatever it is. It kind of looks a bit like a vervoid. Very green, very slimy, kind of a very conventional sort of monster, or what you can imagine a monster to be like, and a bogeyman obviously as well, playing into this whole idea that's kind of coming into the show now of having mythical creatures and creatures that aren't necessarily aliens per se, but kind of have come from other places. Will this creature end up being a literal bogeyman made from literal bogies, possibly belonging to the various inhabitants of the space station on which this story is set, who I'll discuss in just a moment? Likewise, is it actually as fearsome as it looks? I've got an inkling that perhaps there will be some sort of twist where the bogeyman ends up being good, or at least not having kind of evil intentions, and there'll be some sort of everybody lives type ending where all the characters get what they want and everything kind of is resolved in a nice, neat way where nobody dies or anything. But I guess we'll see. So the inhabitants of this space station, the baby station as it's apparently called, are, as the name suggests, babies. So it's like a baby farm run by babies, so it would seem. And again, we've kind of glimpsed that in the trailers already, looking at the Doctor in a fairly bemused fashion, but also by the look of it, at least one of them can speak. So, as the name suggests, space babies, there is some twist here where the babies are more sophisticated than they would initially seem. It's quite a bonkers concept, but also I suppose a nice little gimmick to have in this first episode of the season, something light and fun like the adipose for instance, or the Slovene. Doctor Who magazine has teased some interactions between the Doctor and the babies which are particularly special to watch, and there's also been a hint there that perhaps there's going to be some sort of political commentary here in terms of babies or reproductive rights or something like that. So yeah, it's all very intriguing with these space babies. Will they just be a gimmick, or will they be something bigger? Let's take a look at our cast now, including our main guest star for this particular episode, Golda Rochevelle, playing the character of Jocelyn. She's apparently very well known for a Bridgerton spin-off. I've not seen that myself, I've not seen her in action, although she did actually play a character very briefly in Torchwood in one of the first 2 seasons, so there's that, I guess. From what we have seen, she appears to be the only other adult on the spaceship, apart from the Doctor and Ruby, and one of the other previews for this episode mentioned how she's been kind of waiting patiently for them to arrive. Whether or not she's been waiting for the Doctor and Ruby specifically to arrive, or just someone in general to respond to a distress call or something, remains to be seen. She seems like a very intriguing character who presumably is a friend, but I suppose could be a foe in another kind of twist, kind of echoing the thing with the bogeyman. In any case, she's clearly trying to keep an eye on the babies, with all these monitors and CCTV camera feeds in her office. The cast list also credits voice artists for a number of the babies, plus 2 other mysterious, kind of futuristic sounding characters. Who will they be? Perhaps parents for the babies or something? It also mentions Ruby's mother and grandmother, Carla and Cherry, confirming that they will be appearing in this episode. We already knew they'd be appearing at some point in the series. Again, I think some people kind of assumed they'd be appearing in 73 Yards, like the first episode set back in the present day. But no, they're going to be appearing here first of all, which is very nice, I think, and particularly for new viewers who might not necessarily have seen The Church on Ruby Road. They can be introduced to these characters in episode 1 of the season. It kind of keeps everything nice and neat. And it'll be nice to see both of them again and find out how they spent their Christmas. At number 7, we have the soundtrack from Murray Gold, who obviously returned to the show last year, but also worked on it in the original RTD era and the Moffat era after that. Now, Murray's music is always very big and full of heart and very emotional, and the preview clip I previously mentioned of the Doctor and Ruby looking out into space from the baby station already confirms that Space Babies will be no different. It's a really nice bit of score there, very sort of beautiful and just really capturing that moment. We can also expect to hear more of the 15th Doctor and Ruby's themes, previously established in The Church on Ruby Road. Those motifs are both real earworms, and I can't wait to hear more of them. Now, this episode will be predominantly set in the future, but it will also be set partially, very briefly, in the past. We know from the trailers that fairly early on, the Doctor will take Ruby back to the prehistoric era, where they will see dinosaurs, and then Ruby will quite literally step on a butterfly and momentarily change the course of human history, so much so that she briefly turns into some kind of lizard butterfly creature. Another preview clip has shown a bit more of this scene, confirming this different iteration of Ruby even has a different name, and not Ruby Sunday, but Rubython Blue. But how exactly the Doctor manages to return her to her former self remains to be seen. Doctor Who season openers always have the job of setting up a bit of a story arc or kind of running plot threads to continue over the rest of the season. And we already know what some of those running plot threads are, because they're established either at Christmas or before that in the 60th anniversary specials. We know from that first preview clip I mentioned that there will be a very sly nod to this ongoing thing about Mavity, with the word appearing on a screen the Doctor pulls up. But what else might Space Babies either continue or establish from scratch? Will we get more hints about Ruby's heritage and what's going on there? Will Susan Twist put in another surprise appearance? I'm not expecting much, because I think this will be quite a standalone episode to introduce new viewers to the show, but you never know. And finally, more of a hope for the episode, more of a prediction, one which I believe has been confirmed on the day of recording by one of the preview reviews for this episode from the people that saw it at the press screening. So the title sequence introduced for the show last year, the new title sequence for the 60th specials and also for this new era more generally, has one kind of glaring problem with it which a lot of people have picked up on. It's the way the logo is integrated. It just looks a bit flat and unflattering and a bit naff. And lots of people are hoping that it's been tweaked and fixed for season 1, possibly for instance replaced by that kind of green stencil version we've seen on the posters for this series. As I say, I think it has been all but confirmed by some of the pre-broadcast reviews for this story, but let's just cross our fingers anyway. What are you looking forward to in Space Babies? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Please also like this video if you have enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you're new for more Season 1 content over the coming weeks. But otherwise, until the next one, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.